This sprawl is also causing a substantial increase in pollution on Hawaii's coastal environments. Our land-based activities are causing far more detriment to the reefs than purely siltation. "80% of pollution to the marine environment comes from land-based sources. It is either in the form of chemicals or marine debris. Agricultural practices are a major cause of excess nitrates and other chemical pollution. Hawaii boasts a world-famous pineapple, coffee and sugarcane industry. The intensive methods by which these crops are cultivated are having an overwhelming effect on Hawaii's coastal marine life. According to Hawaii's largest producer of raw sugar, up to 153 kilos of nitrogen per acre are applied to sugarcane crops during the first year of cultivation. Phosphorus and potassium are applied as determined by soil and plant analysis. A variety of these and other chemicals are used in all of Hawaii's crops, unless, of course, they're grown organically. Hannah Bernard is a marine biologist and vice president of the Hawaii Wildlife Fund.
Well, the agricultural practices that we have here in Hawaii, we use pesticides and weed killers and things like that. These things do seep into the ground, as well as all the fertilizers, the nitrogen and the phosphorus that's used to help the plants grow. They seep into the ground, and eventually it makes its way to our groundwater, which makes its way to the ocean. Now, when it does finally make its way to the ocean, this extra fertilizer actually fertilizes the ocean, so we end up with algae blooms. And the problem with algae in the sea, when it's overgrowing, when it's overpopulating, is it smothers the reefs. Algae grows faster than corals. So when it grows, it covers over the reef, and it keeps the corals from getting to the sun. They need sunlight to survive. So we have smothering of the reefs because of algae growth. So that's one of the problems with too much algae in the ocean.
The results of this type of agriculture are not restricted to farmers who operate within close proximity of a shoreline. These pollutants can travel for thousands of miles along inland waterways through entire continents before reaching the ocean. The largest dead zone in the world is found in the Gulf of Mexico. Severe oxygen depletion renders this area devoid of any life. This dead zone results from the enormous amount of animal waste generated from giant factory farms and the various chemicals used on the huge corporate cash crops. This runoff of nutrients is known as eutrophication, the causes of which are not limited to agricultural practices.
It's really any of the dwellings that we have on land near the ocean, whether they be resorts or homes or golf courses. If we over-fertilize or we use poisonous chemicals to treat the land, this can end up in the oceans. Excess fertilizer actually is a pollutant, and this can cause problems for all the marine life, for those people who like to swim in those oceans. It's detrimental to the health. So there are a number of things that people can do, whether they live near the ocean or not, and that's using non-toxic cleansers. And if we fertilize, let's go organic.
Kaneohe Bay on the island of Oahu is a textbook example of the devastating results of shoreline sprawl and eutrophication. David Gulko serves as a coral reef biologist with the Division of Aquatic Resources for the state of Hawaii.
In the 60s and 70s, there was a huge amount of coastal development that occurred in Kaneohe Bay. And between the sewage and the nutrients and the sediment runoff from this development, you took a reef ecosystem which in the 1940s had been talked about, you know, the the coral gardens of Kaneohe Bay, and you used to take glass-bottom boats out and see these beautiful coral gardens. Well, they were covered with sediments, and nutrients allowed the algae to grow, and you saw a dramatic loss of a very, very, very productive coral reef ecosystem. Once that happens, it takes a very long time for that reef to return. And you can't replace a 1,000-year-old reef in less than 1,000 years.
Montipora dilatata is one of 2 species of coral in Kaneohe Bay that is on the brink of extinction. This specimen at the Waikiki Aquarium may actually be the last of its kind from the bay. Scientists and aquarium staff are frantically trying to save the species by propagating the coral in the hopes of recolonizing the reef.
Given the changes that are occurring in that bay, it's reasonable to expect that without very, very strong action by human beings, those 2 species will go extinct. And they would be amongst the first coral extinctions recorded in modern history.
Through the introduction of chemicals and pollutants into coastal reefs, we're also creating what are known as pathogen-friendly environments. These are environments that are conducive to the growth of the bacteria and viruses that cause diseases. Fibropapillomatosis is a tumorous disease that has reached epidemic proportions among Hawaii's green sea turtle population. At Honokauai, on the northwest coast of Maui, as many as 75% of the resident turtles are infected with the disease. These tumors can appear just about anywhere on the soft tissue of the turtles, but more horrifically, they sometimes grow within their internal organs, including the lungs and kidneys. Generally, once present, this painful disease steadily worsens, leading to total emaciation and death. Fibropapillomatosis is linked to 2 species of microscopic algae called dinoflagellates. Prorocentrum concavum and Prorocentrum lemur are found on the macroalgae and seagrass that green sea turtles feed on. It is a chemical within these dinoflagellates that promotes tumor growth. Populations of these dinoflagellates and consequently cases of fibropapillomatosis proliferate in areas where overdevelopment and eutrophication occur.